every year and a half, depends on the timing of what's going on in the universe, I engage in work with my guides. I engage in work with my guides when I go on pilgrimage, and I get in a zone. So a Tuesday night's meditation, and Tuesday during the day, you all heard me say, I feel like I'm having an ongoing orgasm with the universe, which is so wonderful. And in keeping with that feeling, one of the topics that came up for discussion with my guides and my Lord Husband and Mother Mary was satisfaction. Now, I don't know if all of you remember, but when I was growing up, there was a cigarette ad that said, after action satisfaction, right? You remember this? Yeah. Everybody's nodding. We're all old enough for this. But this discussion came up because I said to Mother Mary specifically that every time I go on pilgrimage, I come away with a deep feeling of fulfillment. And within a week of that, I have something else, and I have something else, and I have something else that I require of her, that I am handing over to her, that I am asking of her. And when will that end? One of the reasons I ask that question is because I hear all of my students particularly saying, but I thought I was doing so well, and now we're dealing with that again. Or I thought I'd outgrown that and we're dealing with that again. Or, but surely I've grown a little in this regard at least. And they come down hard on themselves because they think that I'm talking about the next level, or working through this again, or dealing with this issue again because they haven't progressed. In my own pathway, I know that I come back to the same thing over and over and over again from a different perspective and from a different experience and from a different understanding and from a different frequency. And then there's the needing. There's the needing to make miracles happen. There's the needing to create, the needing to manifest, the needing to serve my purpose. And so I asked Mother Mary about this. And she said, when you feel fulfilled, what does that feel like? And quick answer was blissful. I feel a quiet peace within myself. A bliss that says silence is where I belong. And that in that silence, I am in harmony with everything. And I very often feel the need to be silent like that, to feel that fulfillment again. And then life keeps happening around me and I keep answering it and working with it. So the dance continues and I come out of the silence and I am asking Our Lady to intervene on my behalf, to intercede on my behalf, to make miracles happen. And she said, that fulfillment is not intended to last forever. Like everything else in the duality, it is temporary. It might even be called an illusion. And my Lord Husband piped up with, but every moment of fulfillment that you experienced is creating your satisfaction. You can be satisfied. And just for a moment there, I got a little antsy because the power of the word came up for me, and the word satisfied, for example, went to that advert, after action satisfaction, and I have an association in my mind that I have to do something to be satisfied. I remember as a child, I would tell on my sister because she had done something wrong, and I hate it when people do something wrong. So I would tell my mother that she'd done something wrong, and she would get punished almost daily because that was Kogi. She was doing something wrong every day. So she got punished every day. And every day after she got punished, she would look me in the eye like she was going to murder me someday and say, are you satisfied now? And of course I was never satisfied because she would do the same thing the next day. I was never satisfied because she was never learning the lesson and not doing the wrong thing. I eventually outgrew the need to be satisfied in terms of Kogi, and now my philosophy is do as you please. The minute I said do as you please, everything she did pleased me, mostly. And then I remember other moments where people would be having an argument and there'd be this question, what is it that I need to say? What is it that I need to do? What needs to happen for you to be satisfied? So for me, the word satisfaction or being satisfied was so closely associated with the doing. It was so closely associated with an event or an actuality, with the person. It was always so dependent on something outside of me. And I didn't want to associate it in myself with my own demand, my own desire to live peacefully, to have peace of mind. So after lamenting, and that was quite the experience, everything started to open up and all of these other questions have come to the fore and I'm being workshopped left, right and center. Venus has moved halfway through its retrograde program and will be emerging soon into its new light. So I see that all of these changes are happening. And I see that part of peace of mind is contentment. And contentment is actually that feeling of being satisfied with what is. The human ego is never satisfied. It is always seeking. It is always acquiring. It is always in evolution. We are always moving to the next level and the next level. And sometimes we move so quickly from one level to the next. Sometimes we move so quickly from one accomplishment to the next that we don't experience the satisfaction of completing this, of living this, of experiencing this, whatever it is, without judgment. We move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So today we buy a new car and by next week it's an old car. You know for a fact that the minute you drive it out the showroom, it has depreciated in value. And of course, by the following week, you've forgotten that you're driving a new car and you're driving exactly like you always did. All of the satisfaction of purchasing this new car, what you wanted, dissipates into the routine of living again. And we forget that we were satisfied. We get what we want and we forget that we were satisfied because there's always the something else. We accomplish something and we forget that we accomplished it. And we can be satisfied with that because now there's something else to accomplish. And we are rarely, very, very rarely satisfied. Most of us don't even know what satisfies us. So I hear my sister's voice in my head saying, are you satisfied now? Like, did you get what you want? Did that please you enough for you to stop now? And of course, I never stopped. She didn't stop either. We were in a tension of our own. So for today, I want you to just stop and think for yourself of all of those spaces of dissatisfaction. And what is it? What is that dynamic between I am getting what I want and I'm not satisfied? Oh. Did I skip a bit? Oh, that wasn't an assumption. Bring your brain back here. That wasn't an assumption. You are getting exactly what you want. This isn't a question of do I know what I want? Am I getting what I want? You are busy creating what you want. So I know that you are getting what you want. My question is not, are you getting what you want? My question is, why aren't you satisfied with getting what you want? Why aren't you satisfied? You created it. You wanted it enough to create it. You want it enough to go running after it, to bend over backwards for it, to work hard for it. And yes, it's hard work to create something in your life. So why aren't you satisfied? And we know we are not satisfied, firstly, if we want to change it. I want that, and then when I've got it, I want to change it. No? Yeah. And then I want that, and then when I get it, it's not enough in some way. I want more of that. And I want more of that like that. So we are judging it. We know that we are judging it. I want that now that I've got this. Because I am thinking in a linear way. When I have this, it will make me eligible for that. So why aren't you satisfied? Is satisfaction acceptance of everything as it is? Not necessarily. Really, you don't have to accept everything. That the way it is the way it is. I mean, that's just spiritual law, right? That the way it is the way it is. And I know you don't believe me, because if you believed me, I wouldn't be teaching this. If you believed me, there are a great many things I would not be teaching. So I know you don't believe me when I say that the way it is the way it is. So let us put that suspended over there in something that I can use from time to time and come back to, I am creating what I want. I have what I want. I am experiencing what I want. Why am I not satisfied? Have I not identified it as something that I want? Firstly, there's that. It's happening. And if I am in judgment to it, then it is happening to me instead of happening from me. So now I cannot be satisfied. I am rejecting it as if it is not mine, so I cannot be satisfied. I cannot have that feeling that this is working for me if I think it's not mine. I haven't created it. It's imposed on me. It's happening to me. Like change. It's happening to me, got nothing to do with me. The universe is whammying me with it. This is a great rationalization and a forgetting that you are creating. So, how can you be satisfied? If you are rejecting something and resisting something, how can you feel satisfaction in the having of it and the experiencing of it? And then, of course, once we've got it, we can have so many complaints. So I hear a great many pregnant women complaining about their bodies once they're pregnant. And then you go, hold on. Do you remember when you were trying to fall pregnant? Yes. Why aren't you satisfied? You got what you wanted? Oh, yeah. But you know, remember that? See, I can pick on the lady who's just had a baby. Because she remembers it. It's familiar. It's so new. All the rest of us who were having babies almost 30 years ago might have forgotten by now. But it's not just pregnant women. It's people everywhere. I want that job. I want that job. I want that job. Got that job. Moment of triumph. 2 weeks later, brand new job. I have got complaints. Don't like this person. Don't like that person. Not satisfied. Maybe we just don't know how to feel satisfied. Maybe we're living so far in the past and so far into the future that the now moment remains unfulfilled. Maybe you're not there to be satisfied with the now moment. If you could be satisfied with the now moment, then every breath you take will bring satisfaction. Every breath you take will be a blessing. Every breath you take will be the reassurance that you are still creating, that you are still changing the universe. For me, every breath I take is reassurance I am loved. And as a bonus, everybody likes me, in spirit anyway. For me, every breath I take is the assurance that I have one more opportunity to change myself, to change the world, to fulfill a purpose. And even in fulfilling that purpose, I must choose to be satisfied. I am a terrible teacher. I celebrate your achievements here, and then I clap you upside the head and I whack you one and I say, go there. So I push you into the next step. I push you into the next level, into the next learning. Why? That's what the universe does. It keeps us forever seeking. But it doesn't require us to forget that we have accomplished, to forget that we have become, to forget that we can, that we are. It in fact requires us to feel that deep satisfaction that we have come this far, that we've changed this much, that we've raised our frequencies sufficiently to engage with a new understanding of the same old, same old. That karma, which means action, right? That karma holds within its energy system satisfaction. That it's not a punishment energy system. But with our fears and our insecurities and our adherence to this accountability system, to the punishment system, we cannot be satisfied. So over here, Sai Baba, this is the one who wears orange, by the way. There's a difference between Satya Sai Baba and Shirdi Baba. So Satya Sai Baba of Puttaparthi is saying, he says to me, in his lifetime, where he was teaching his devotees, and really you all know that he has an international, worldwide following, bigger than Oshu's. Bigger than Oshu's, just because Oshu's like in the room and trying to get attention. So over here, Satya Sai Baba says, in his whole life, he has yearned for a moment where he will stand still and the universe will stand still with him. But when he became this person, when he became this set of responsibilities, when he became this leader and this teacher and this parent to an entire mass consciousness, then there is no stillness, there is no peace. Then there is only the constant being in service and being a purpose and being the performer in the center of the three-ring circus. He tells me he has said this before in other discussions here at the center, where who you are and what you do become in conflict with each other, because who you are inside is for you. What you do outside is for others. And if who you are inside is not in harmony, is not in integrity with what you do outside for others, and you spend your life in the doing for that performance and that pretense and that game, who you are inside ceases to exist. Then the stillness, then the quiet, the bliss that this teacher is teaching, meaning him, not him or me, him, Satya Sai Baba, just to cool things down a little, cannot exist. So even in his death, he didn't have stillness, that quiet bliss, the satisfaction of something finished, complete. In the Hindu tradition, we have something called Samadhi, which is the capacity, the capability for a highly evolved soul, being limited by a physical body, to lie itself down and liberate itself of its body, to liberate its soul from the body intentionally, consciously. And the most vital feeling in that process is satisfaction. I am satisfied. I am at peace with who I am. And this is not a satisfaction like on the ego plane where you get all complacent and smug and therefore arrogant and cocky and stupid. This is a satisfaction of feeling complete. The satisfaction of knowing at the deepest cell of your body that you have done well. Not perfectly, but well. That you have, in fact, given of yourself. That the service you have brought to the world is answered in the universe, if not in other people's minds. And it is that they call Mahatma, a great soul. Not Gandhi. Here on the human plane we have a very strange understanding of greatness. The Kardashians are great. Trump is great. The people who make lots of money and invent more technology to entangle us in systems are great. The souls who have died for a cause, historically great, historically distorted, depending on who's telling the story. We all know, the philosophy students in this group know this. The people who are watching everything on YouTube know this. You know this. So greatness itself loses any kind of objective clarity. It in itself becomes a prejudice. But I, the soul, recognizes what is great within myself as an understanding that something inside of me is fulfilled. It is full. It is not lacking. It is not deprived. It is not undermined. It is not less than I am. It is full. It is fulfilled. I am satisfied. So, in the Hindu pantheon, perhaps the God who brings us the feeling. Shall we meditate with him tonight? Thank you. So the God who brings us this. Okay. Yeah, talk to each other. I'll just wait. Sorry, I'm just waiting. If all of you can hear what these two people are talking about, please, by all means, run the class. In the meantime, I'm going to sit here quietly until they both realize that neither of them is going to get the satisfaction of being heard unless I choose it. You see? Even my teachers can talk until they're blue in the face, or blue in the energy field, or going red, or orange, or whatever color you're choosing today. And it will make no difference whatsoever until I choose to work with it, until I choose to implement it, until I choose to bring it into physical plane awareness. Until I choose it, it is merely a range of frequencies in the energy system of my atmosphere and is meaningless. They cannot be satisfied, no matter how much they talk. And I cannot be satisfied because I don't want to say what they're saying. And now we will get stuck. Meditation, discourse, grinding halt until I choose to say what they're saying, and they start choosing to say what I actually want to talk about. The law of mutuality applies. Thank you. Are you getting this? There's a whole experience unfolding here about how satisfaction comes from the choices you make, and how satisfaction actually has a specific context of mutuality. You cannot be satisfied only within yourself. That would be the smug complacency of the ego plane. You can only be satisfied in the knowing that the energy you have brought into the world has in fact served. Not in other people's opinions, because that too is the duality ego plane, but in your experience of being of service, of being purposeful, where something inside of you feels fulfilled. So I'm going to just ignore these two masters. Thank you. Now that I have their permission to do so, I may do so peacefully. Yes. Just give me a heads up if I am ever as pushy as Oshu and Sathya Sai Baba simultaneously, no? Because they're like pushing from both sides. They both want to be heard, and they're both talking about things that have got nothing to do with satisfaction, so I am now deeply dissatisfied. And when I am deeply dissatisfied, I want to get on top of it and make my energy bigger than theirs and call upon a bigger authority to sort it out for me, which is such a lot of work. I would rather get quiet and go, Lord husband. Okay. So, the god in the Indian pantheon or mythology who teaches us the most about satisfaction is the elephant god Ganesh. When Ganesh brings the hunger of the world to the fore, everybody knows he cannot be satisfied. He can eat you out of house and home. He can eat you out of the galaxy, because that hunger cannot be satisfied. Ganesh represents the hunger that is in the world, the lack, the deprivation that is in the world as a result of greed and accumulation by those who are living the wrong value systems. And immediately you can see that there is a connection between the two. We know that there is only one small percentage of the world that owns all of the resources that would in fact cater for everybody on this planet, so we need have no poverty. So Ganesh represents our capacity for satisfaction and dissatisfaction. He has the memory of an elephant, so he remembers every way in which I have been deprived and therefore cannot feel satisfied in the moment. I bring the world of dissatisfaction or deprivation and hunger into the moment. And then he represents satisfaction, because one act of kindness, one act of being fed by a true and devoted heart, and he is full. He needs nothing else. Of course, we know on the physical plane that it doesn't eradicate dissatisfaction on the physical plane. It doesn't eradicate the lack on the physical plane. It doesn't eradicate everybody's personal sense of deprivation. And it doesn't matter what you think you were deprived of. If there is anything you think you were deprived of, whether it was a fair education, or somebody's love, or somebody's attention, or time, or money, whatever it is that you have attached to yourself as a system of lack, as a system of deprivation, it keeps you in dissatisfaction forevermore. It becomes an agreement that you've made with yourself. And most of us wind up on a spiritual pathway because we are looking to answer that lack. We're looking to answer that deprivation. And we become seekers. And we go seeking here and there and everywhere, and this teacher and that teacher, until you learn to sit silently with yourself and go into your dissatisfaction and answer it within yourself with who you are. Not what you've got, not what you've acquired, not with who loves you and who doesn't love you, but one simple act of kindness to yourself called self-acknowledgement. To acknowledge the God within you, to see yourself as you are. Now for most people, they look at me and they think, however did you come up with this ridiculously easy solution? All of the deprivation of the world will be answered if you sit quietly and see yourself as you are. I am soul. I am one with God. I am the highest possible light presence on the physical plane. How will it answer? Really? It's too simple. It doesn't have any system to it unless you go read the Vedas and you get a long system. Read all the books. It will give you a procedural way. It works. For a mass consciousness that needs a pathway that is defined for them, it works. It's called religion. Go for it. Why not? Take the procedural pathway, or you can make a choice. That thing you got free will for. Make a choice. You can stand down from your ego in order to step into being satisfied with what is. I am satisfied that I can shout at all of you and you can't shout back. In fact, I'm so bloody blissful about it from time to time. It gives me joy. It makes us laugh. I am satisfied that I can be intense about the things that matters and blasé about the things that don't. I am satisfied that I speak my truth and I am unburdened by it. There are so many things to be satisfied about. Not just blessed about, but to feel satisfied within myself. It is finished in this moment. It is done in this moment. It becomes part of my context and my continuity, and it builds within me a lifetime of being satisfied, fulfilled, complete, finished. So by the time I get there, where I am no longer being in this body, I have very little unfinished business in terms of who I am inside out. And really, if I'm good about it, my physical plane life will reflect that I have very little unfinished business. Otherwise, I will leave behind me chaos and lack, deprivation. I will leave behind me the poverty consciousness that lurks at the core of my being and keeps me dissatisfied. The art of meditation, truly, the art of meditation is that when I sit in confrontation with myself, when I sit face to face with myself, I am satisfied. I am at peace with that self that inhabits my being, that radiates it outward, that holds my space. I am satisfied with what I am becoming. And as Fatima would say, we are all doing it at our own pace, but I am even satisfied with the pace. I have no judgment about it. It is what it is. I have made no comparison with it to other people's paces. I am engaging in a different dance. It is what it is. I am not in guilt about it. But here's the problem. You can't be satisfied if you've done nothing. Who is it? Leah? Nothing will come of nothing? Oh, well, here you go. Nothing will come of nothing. You cannot be satisfied because it is something you earn within yourself. It is a feeling you give yourself from your own effort. And effort is energy invested in work. From your own love. Work is love made visible. That's what you're doing. Meditation has just turned into a series of memes. I know I asked for it, but I wasn't serious. Just for the record, satisfaction after action. You have to do the work. Nothing will come of nothing. And even if you have done an ounce of work, that ounce of work, like an ounce of gold, which is very valuable in the world right now if you consider our exchange rate, really, that ounce of work has its own satisfaction in it. I completed this to my satisfaction today. And what is your satisfaction? That I did it well. That I did it to the best of my ability. The 4 agreements. Always do your best, knowing that your best will change from moment to moment. And that best that changes from moment to moment is not dependent on the external factors. It is dependent on what you bring to it within yourself. So if you have a headache, your best is one thing. If you have a toothache, your best is another thing. If you're in the throes of childbirth, your best is another thing. It's that simple. If you're fast asleep, your best is at its best. Because really, when you're fast asleep, you're following the Native American first do no harm rule. Good one. But there must be some ounce of effort within yourself that can be acknowledged for its accomplishment, for the satisfaction to follow from there. So a to-do list with 30 things, you can be satisfied that you've ticked off one, and then you can be satisfied that you've ticked off another before you go into berating yourself that you didn't get to number 5. On the spiritual plane, it is even easier. On the spiritual plane, it is even easier. Because the spiritual plane doesn't call for you to accomplish everything. It calls for you to practice everything. The spiritual plane doesn't call for you to get it right. It calls for you to practice. Just keep practicing. And in the practicing, you improve. In the practicing, you learn. In the practicing, in using the guidance that comes to you or that you are given by a teacher, because that's what you employ me to do, give you the guidance. If you're using it, practicing with it, something is happening. So you can feel accomplished with the practicing. Not the getting right, the practicing. Sufficient unto the day, the evil thereof. We're very good at saying that from our complaining heads, from our suspicion of humanity and the duality ego system. We must be equally good at saying sufficient unto the day, the practice thereof. On the spiritual plane, there is no yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That is the linear thinking of the duality. On the spiritual plane, there is the fulfilled now moment or the unfinished now moment. There is the satisfied now moment that blossoms in a future moment. There is the dissatisfied now moment that appears dry, in need of nurturing, incomplete, in need of effort in the future moment. What satisfies you now brings you bliss later. Satisfaction is the seeds that you are planting now for your blossoming, not just in other moments in this lifetime, but other moments of your soul's lifetime. I have earned my blessings. These gifts that so many people, including myself, are completely in awe of, and that I cannot claim ownership of. They exist because presence exists. They exist because God is in so many frequencies and forms available to us all. But I have also earned them. I have worked for them over so many lifetimes. So if you have to go to a meeting, instead of coming to meditation, I want you to check if the purpose of that meeting is going to serve you over several lifetimes, and if it is going to satisfy you over several lifetimes. What is it going to blossom into instead of your practice? And if you really have to attend that meeting, is there a space alongside that where you are managing your practice? Your satisfaction is dependent on your mutuality with the universe, the values by which you choose to live. Because this satisfaction is a knowing that lives in your cellular body and lives in your energy system as your continuity. It isn't living in your bank balance. It isn't living in your safe, and it sure as hell isn't living in the walls of your house and your stuff. It's living within you. And it is that energy, that satisfaction inside of you, that leads to things like self-assurance, self-esteem, liking oneself, authority over oneself. It is also the energy that makes your boundaries stronger. For yourself, sit quietly and ask, what does satisfaction feel like? Have you sat with it long enough in any moment of your life and felt it? Have you stopped long enough in that moment of fulfillment and enjoyed it, realized it so deeply within you that it answers that need deep inside of you, at the core of your being, where you have so consistently experienced separation, deprivation, lack? Just being separate from your soul self and losing all of your memories of where you come from is enough to make you feel like something is lacking. We know this. I, the soul, knows this. My physical body holds that energy. So I have to stop and feel, what does satisfaction feel like? That when it happens, I live it fully. I recognize it. I remind my mind that I know this, and it can string together the patterns of it in my being, that it becomes alive within me. Like everything else on the spiritual plane and on the spiritual pathway, it takes practice. Are you satisfied? Osho is satisfied. He says to me, it's not a card. This word, satisfaction, and you see that satisfaction has two words in it that you must pay attention to. The one is action itself, right? The word satisfaction has the word action at it. It is sati, sati's action, or sati's faction. No? Okay. So he says he hasn't made a card. I just, never mind. Other story. He says he hasn't made a card about this, because I love his cards. He hasn't made a card about this, so somebody must do it. But in the Osho Zen Tarot, it is a recurring theme in his cards that satisfaction is something you choose consciously in your interaction with the world, in how you view the world, in your perception of it. In fact, in accordance with other meditations that we've had, you can stand on the grounds of satisfaction or in that space of satisfaction and make that your point of view, your viewing point, if you will. Like a pendulum, I'm going from one side to the other here. Okay. All right. So Satya Sai Baba says, for him, satisfaction, and for so many of you this will apply, is that I have answered. Somebody has prayed, and I have answered. I have given them whatever it was they requested of me. You will remember that this entire discussion started because I requested of Mother Mary. And Satya Sai Baba was famous. You will see videos of him on YouTube producing golden eggs as if he is I almost said it. As if he is a golden goose. This is a big fight. We have an ongoing fight. Because I don't know which teacher in his right mind is going to manifest golden eggs and watches and gold chains for his spiritual devotees when he should be teaching them a lack of attachment to material bullshit. So why would a teacher choose to manifest that instead of teaching them how to manifest for themselves? Don't fight with me now, it's in my classroom. And then, of course, I do not know why a spiritual master, Bhagwan, if Puttaparthi, has to even engage with this producing golden eggs. It's like the most ludicrous thing in my mind. So I don't get it. I don't understand it. I am not a devotee. I am a student. And my teacher has not answered that for me yet. When he can teach me to produce these golden eggs myself, so that I can sit here, hold out my hand, and the golden egg appears, and I can then send it to charities or whatever, I will be very pleased with him. Until he can do that, I want an explanation for why he would do this at all. I am dissatisfied, skeptical of some of the masters that I meet on my spiritual pathway. And my dissatisfaction with them validates my bliss, my integrity, my complete sense of comfort and faith in the consciousness of all consciousness. And that is their purpose. That is what they do for me. They show me where I can go in disbelief and where I can go in complete faith. Even that which needles at you and pokes at you can lead to your satisfaction. Let us meditate.